waited 15 minutes for someone to show up. No one showed up.
So yeah, we'll start.
Well, especially close to the holidays, that's gonna, yeah.
Probably tomorrow since I got to
No, that one was withdrawn.
There are
make
none.
it. I have it's now 2 months in a row that I haven't presented.
You're doing the hotel, the abatement.
I have to come. I just glare.
What he doesn't know is that I watch them live streaming and I glare at him just from my. I'll send him random texts, be like, "You need to stop rolling your posture. You need to sit up straight." He gets an often. What are you doing?
I have my
like. I know you
contact
have your
on,
phone
which
here. I
kind
know
of
that you do.
resistance.
Every once in a while he'll look
Everything.
at it, but
Yeah.
he won't do anything because he sits next to me.
That is David last. He was here. We sure looks it's almost there.
That's fantastic. That's it. Now, what about VOA? Do you know if I was going to say something? Since that's going to be the first thing he says. Why aren't they on YouTube? Why are the meetings not on YouTube?
Yeah, that's fine. But I think we can get started now. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Here. Miss Page.
Here.
Miss Johnson.
Here.
Before we get started this evening, are there any public comments? Okay, can we please have the quasi-judicial announcement and swearing in of speakers?
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board this evening that would like to disclose any ex parte communications? Seeing none. Any applicants or anyone wishing to testify on behalf of an applicant or against an applicant this evening, could you please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in? For and against. If you're an applicant and you are going to speak this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, thank you. Now we will have approval of minutes, and we'll start with the May 2nd, 2016 meeting minutes. Has everyone on the board had an opportunity to look over the minutes? Do I hear a motion?
I have a question.
Okay.
If I was absent at that meeting, would I vote to approve or not approve, being that I was not here?
Attorney?
You can, yeah, you can vote as long as the meetings are accurate to your recollection. If you don't have a recollection of it, then you can abstain.
If I don't, what should I, in other words, should I abstain, being that I wasn't here and I would not have a recollection of?
Right, yeah, I
Okay.
would abstain. It's, I mean, it's an administrative approval anyway, so yeah,
Right.
I would abstain.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm asking if we have a motion from the board to approve the minutes.
I was absent, so.
You were absent also. Okay, we have two people. Well, what do we do now?
When I wasn't on the board.
You weren't on the
so-
board.
Well, it's an administrative approval. Your rules of procedure, I mean, give me one moment, let me. I think so too, but. All of you, there's nothing in your rules of procedure that says that all of you can't vote, so you just approve the minutes as they sit.
Okay.
Whether or not you were here or not, whether or not you believe they're, I mean, if you believe they're accurate and it's an accurate
Okay.
reporting, you just vote on them, so. Of course, as in any vote, you can choose to abstain, but then we don't get them approved, so.
So I'd like to make a motion that we would approve the minutes from May 2nd, 2016.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Roll
Ms.
call.
Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Proter-Midas,
Yes.
Mr. Tunstall,
Yes.
Ms. Kolianis.
Yes. And now we'll move on to the minutes of August the 1st, 2016. So do I hear a motion on these minutes?
I move that the board approves the minutes from August 1st, 2016.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Proter-Midas,
Yes.
Mr. Tunstall,
Yes.
Ms. Kolianis.
Yes. Now we will we'll look at the minutes of September 12th, 2016.
And Chairman Kolianis, just before we go through them individually, the board does have the option, if you don't want to do them one by one, to do them all in a block if there are no changes that are going to be made to any of the
Okay.
individual minutes.
All right.
And that's at the pleasure of the chairperson, so.
Well, I think everyone's had a chance to review them, so do I hear a motion that we approve the remainder of the minutes unless someone has some other comment they would like to make on the minutes?
I would make a motion that we approve the remainder of the minutes.
Second.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Proter-Midas,
Yes.
Mr. Tunstall,
Yes.
Ms. Kolianis.
Yes. We have the first case has been withdrawn. So now we'll move on to case number 16 dash 119, and this is 301 Bay Street window replacements. So could we hear from the staff on this report?
Okay, this property, the applicants are Gary and Deborah Prado. They're requesting a certificate of approval for the replacement of windows on the structure. The property is located at 301 Bay Street and is considered a contributing historic structure. The property is identified as a masonry vernacular contributing structure built circa 1957. This is a concrete block structure with a stucco exterior. The roof is a hip style, clad in composite shingles, and the original windows were awning style with 4 and 5 light panes. The applicant received a certificate of approval from this board in 2014 for 3 of the windows on the home. The certificate of approval is attached within your agenda, within your packet. replacing the existing awning-style windows located to the rear of the structure with 2 and 3 light sliding windows with horizontal grids to replicate the original windows. The predominant window style for the masonry vernacular style structure is the double-hung sash window. However, this structure is identified as being constructed circa 1957, placing the structure just after the mid-century masonry vernacular style, within a time period of 1935 and 1945, and prior to the modern masonry vernacular style era of building, which began in 1959. In researching the historical design guidelines for other Florida cities, acceptable windows for the mid-century and modern century windows are jalousie and aluminum awning-style windows, with large picture casement windows for front windows. However, sliding windows are not typically accepted as an historic replacement. The location of the windows proposed for replacement are represented as A through F below in your diagram in the report. The applicant is proposing to replace the remaining 4 and 5 light side and front jalousie windows with Energy Star 70 series block single hung white aluminum windows as shown. The specifications are added as an exhibit. 2 existing 36 by 48 bedroom windows may be replaced with 1 double 72-inch wide slider windows, which is also shown in the report. The front triple row window will be placed with 3 36 by 60-inch windows placed side by side. Now this I'm not completely correct on. I spoke with the applicant earlier, and so he can come up and clarify for us on that particular, the front window. It shall be the intent of this article to promote maintenance, restoration, adaptive reuses appropriate to the property, and compatible infill development in a manner harmonious with exterior features, including landscaping, neighboring buildings, sites, and streetscapes. In reviewing an application for a certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. Number 1, the height and width of any proposed alteration or new construction shall be consistent with that of adjacent contributing structures and with those structures of similar character and architectural style found throughout the immediate neighborhood or the district. Staff's findings are that this neighborhood is diverse in architectural styles, so staff lean towards concentrating on the masonry style. 2, the width and height of the windows, doors, and entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style, and repair or replacement of missing architectural features such as windows, mullions, doors, entries, handrails, etc., should be based on accurate duplications, substantiated by historic, physical, or pictorial evidence rather than on conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from other buildings or structures. Staff's findings are: no window openings are proposed to be expanded in size, and the number of light panels proposed are consistent with the existing number of light panes. The new windows will have the same horizontal grids as the previously replaced windows approved by the HPB in 2014. Questions number 3 and 4 we did not find applicable. Question 5. The size and mass or shape of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original architectural style. The size and mass of a proposed structure should reflect the character of contributing buildings within the district, as well as those immediately surrounding the subject property, and shall include review of architectural elements such as roof lines, fenestration, and other components of facade design. Staff's findings are: the size and massing of the structure will not be affected. Architectural elements of the neighborhood and neighboring properties have been reviewed and considered by staff. However, there are several architectural styles present surrounding the subject property. Number 6, we did not find applicable. Number 7, distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced wherever possible. Architectural details, including color, materials, texture, and site lighting, shall be treated so as to make building, structure, and traditional cultural properties consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should replicate the material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Staff's findings are: the new windows match the appearance of the existing windows, mullions are part of the manufactured final product to match the historical period appearance. Number 8, all buildings, structures, sites, and traditional cultural properties shall be recognized as products of their own time. Any alterations, modifications, or changes to the structure or traditional property shall not attempt to create an early appearance. Staff's findings are that the single-hung windows proposed may create an earlier masonry vernacular period appearance or context of the structure and are indeed different from the slider windows that were recently approved for replacement. On the other hand, other Florida cities rarely approve slider windows for replacement within their guidelines. Staff is concerned that the use of both or multiple types of windows may have more of a negative impact on historical context of the structure. Number 9, the renovation of contributing structures in a historical or cultural district or designated site shall meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic structures. Staff's findings are that the guidelines emphasize restoration before replacement. The applicant has not indicated whether there is an intent to match the existing sills of the windows. Number 10, the proposed project shall conform to other requirements of this code and be in compliance with the applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings are that all of the proposed improvements would meet the requirements of the LDC, the zoning district regulations, and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. And number 11, the impact upon archaeological sites shall preserve the integrity of the sites. There are no archaeological sites on site which would be impacted. So staff's recommendations are to approval of the following options along with any other recommendations made or added by the board. To replace all the remaining windows with jalousie or awning style windows with similar number of panes consistent with more modern time period appearance of the mid-century or modern masonry vernacular style, having relatively the same number of lights and panes as the existing windows. However, in 2014, the board approved the 2 and 3 light slider type windows with the horizontal grids on the rear and side of the house, so this is an option for the remaining windows. The applicant proposes to replace all the remaining windows with the 70 series single hung style windows and or double slider windows. Staff would not recommend the addition of the single hung window style for this structure. Any questions?
We would like to hear from the applicant.
Where's the port? Right here.
Thank
These are the four windows that were together. They were approved in 2014 and already installed. Am I supposed to get up behind here?
Yes, please. You'll state your name.
Gary Prado. And so what I'm asking for is for the board to approve the same style windows that approved 2 years ago for the rest of the house. When I came before the board 2 years ago, they asked me why I didn't ask for approval of all the windows, and I said I couldn't afford all the windows at once, and the board told me that it's good for 3 years, and that's the first time I heard about it through the whole application. So I'm back 2 years later. Some clarifications: I don't want to refurbish single pane jalousie windows. I want hurricane windows, and I want to put the same style of windows throughout the rest of the house. The one problem is the front windows on the right-hand side when you're looking at the picture, which are the 9 feet by 5 feet tall window on the right-hand side for your picture. Sliders, if you go with sliders on that front window, the only way they could design it would be the center pane would be non-movable. It would be solid, and the two would come in from the sides. The issue with that is it's 50% of the window is the center pane and 25% on each side. So a 9-foot window, the center pane would be 4.5 feet, with the mullions or whatever they're called, and the 2 sliders would be 2.25 feet sliding in, so it would change the 333. What I was told by Home Depot and Lowe's is I would have to do 3 stacks of double hung, single hung windows, 3 stacks just like they are now with the lines in them, because I couldn't do sliders unless I'd changed the, the optics, the 50-25 versus the 3 even. So I'm looking to the board to continue the approval that I was given 2 years ago on the sliders, and then make and I'll leave it up to the board for an idea of the 9-foot windows. If I need to be consistent with all sliders, then it would have to be the 50 and 25% on each side versus the 3 even single hung windows.
Does the board have any questions?
You mentioned there was a picture. Are you talking about on page 2? Is that the top picture?
There was a photo in the package, I thought, of my house with the 3 windows.
That's on page 2.
The other windows are all, what is it, 3 or 6 feet by 4 feet, and those can be either 2 single hung windows together or 1 solid slider with the same minions. The only difference, well, actually, on that there wouldn't be any difference because the center post would be either the 2 windows together or that's where they would slide. So optically, those would be the same, whether they were sliders or 1 slider or 2 single hung.
This is a picture of the front of your house, correct? This is the,
Yeah,
okay.
and so you have 3 of those,
Mm-hmm.
3 feet long.
And on this side also?
They're a foot higher, and they're 2 cans. So they're 6 feet by 4 feet in the bedroom, and these are 6 feet by 9. Each panel's, so you've got 2 stacks of 3 there. Actually, you can see better right there. The side picture is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the side bedroom, and those 2 are the exact same.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Is the picture on page 4 with the front casement window an option that we're looking at here? Is that sorry,
Okay.
with the water view behind it there? Or do you, I don't, okay.
No, yeah, I don't know what that is.
No, that was put in as an example of the more modern style for masonry vernacular. As
Is
far
this
as
a recommendation by the city?
it could be. It's just, I was trying to give you some background research on what was found and what's usually used.
So it's my understanding that you're planning on doing the slider windows on everything except the front? Is that,
I would do sliders on the front, but the board would have to allow me to do the slider with the 2.5, or 2.25, 2.25 sliders in, and a bigger picture window in the center section would be 4.5 feet instead of 3 feet.
so this is the idea that you were trying to create that with that?
This is why I wanted him to come up to explain it,
Okay.
because I thought he was saying that he was going to put a slider window in and then a single hung going this.
Oh, yeah,
another
no,
one
no,
this
no.
way, and then the slider is going this way. So I wasn't completely clear on how he was gonna tackle that.
Yeah,
The
no,
front
they told me my option was the 3 single hung, so that it would have the bar in the center and then the mullion or whatever it's called above and below to show the equal, and then all 3 of them would be exactly the same going across.
And that
That's
would be the only set of windows in the house that would be like that.
the front right of the house, and then where the windows are in the front, they're also the right side, exactly the same. So there'll be the 3 windows here and 3 windows here, on the right front and the right side.
I personally think that the sliders with 3 separate, a larger window in the middle and the 2 sliders on the sides would look better and more appropriate since the rest of the windows have been replaced that way. And I can make that motion, but I think this is where you guys chime in and decide if that's your preference as well. I think that we're going to approve one or the other, right? Is that kind of the?
I'll tell you, that one's cheaper as well, so.
I just know that on a double hung, especially, the middle, even with the mullions, the double hung section in the middle that has your locking mechanism and everything is going to be wider than those little mullions.
Right.
It's going to look different. I know that the width on the others are going to look different. I guess that's my opinion, but I mean, these are all impact windows that are not cheap. I know that it's
Yeah,
probably
that's the
an
one thing they're
insignificant
not,
price difference,
yeah.
but
Do we have anyone in the audience? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Would like to speak in opposition to this application or for this application? Okay, does the board have any other questions?
I would just say, from your guidelines, there is a guideline that says, again, your guidelines are just something that you can use, you don't have to use them. In addition to your criteria, it just says that the use of different window types in the same structure is prohibited. Again, you don't have to use that, but that's just part of what your guidelines are.
So do I hear a motion concerning this application?
I would make the motion to approve the sliders coming from the 2 sides and a wider center window if the rest of the board are on board with that idea from the city.
So all the windows will basically be
Sliders.
sliders. Do I hear a second? Thank you. Roll call?
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis,
Yes.
Mr. Tunstall,
Yes.
Ms. Kolianos.
Yes. Thank you.
That's what I just wanted to clear up with you guys. So other than the 1 front window, 2. Okay. So the front and the right front side are going to be the 25, 50, 25. Okay. And the rest of the windows.
And that was the motion that was before the board?
Yes.
Was that your intention? Okay.
That's
Matching
my
mullions
understanding.
across throughout the entire property. Yeah. Answered. Sure.
Okay, I think we're all.
I think it's going to look fantastic. Yeah. I think it's
Yes,
gonna look really
yes.
nice.
And, I think the idea that these 50 houses are going to be coming up for review a lot, now, and, having had those old Miami crank out windows. But thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Now we're going to turn to case number 16117, 115 South Spring Boulevard, also with window replacements. So if I could hear from the staff on that application.
Okay, the applicants are Anthony Hines, and he's requesting a certificate of approval for the replacement of windows on the structure. The property is located at 115 South Spring Boulevard and is considered a contributing historic structure. This structure, known as the Edward Newton Knapp House, is the first of 5 wooden houses built within the city of Tarpon Springs. Mr. Edward Newton Knapp was a prominent figure in the early history of Tarpon Springs. He was the chairman of the meeting in which the Tarpon Springs was incorporated. The city of Tarpon Springs was incorporated. Mr. Knapp had earned his wealth in the hardware business up north and later made Tarpon Springs his permanent home, at least in part due to its natural beauty and ample hunting opportunities. It is said that Mr. Knapp specifically designed his home to fit on its corner lot and would not allow any square-shaped rooms. The style of the home is identified as a Queen Anne revival, having a wood frame and drop wood shingle siding, and is considered a contributing structure built in circa 1886. It has a steep, cross-gabled roof, cladded in composite and wood shingles. It is a 2 1/2 story structure with a porch that wraps around the front facade and is decorated with turned columns, stickwork brackets and spindles, vents, knee braces, and a centered octagonal front tower with polychrome roof tiles. There are 2 entries centered under the front porch. According to the master file, the 2nd-story windows at the time of the inventory were wood 2/2 light panes, and the 1st-story windows were metal casement windows with a single light pane. A 1-story addition was added to the east side of the residence in 1980, and a renovation remodel was approved by HPB in 2015 and has been constructed over the last year. The applicant is proposing to replace the remaining windows with Energy Star A-Series double-hung wood pine frame and sash, 2/2 windows as shown. The applicant will be repairing and patching, this proposed action is not reviewed by the board. The applicant will be repairing and patching damaged wood side panels where needed. The replacement panels will be constructed with wood Dutch lap panels and painted to match the existing color. In reviewing an application for certificate approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. The height and width of any proposed alteration or new construction shall be consistent with that of the adjacent contributing structures and with those structures of the similar character and architectural style found throughout the immediate neighborhood in the district. Staff's findings are that the surrounding homes are constructed in the craftsman bungalow style, so staff concentrated on the Queen Anne revival style. Number 2, the width and height of the windows, doors, and entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style. Repair or replacement of missing architectural features such as windows, mullions, doors, entries, handrails, etc. should be based on the accurate duplications substantiated by historic, physical, or pictorial evidence rather than on conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from other buildings or structures. Staff's findings are that no window openings are proposed to be expanded in size, but staff is not convinced that the 2/2 style of windows selected by the applicant is the most appropriate for a Queen Anne style home, except perhaps where they currently exist on the 2nd floor of the structure. Questions 3 and 4 we did not find applicable. Number 5, the size and mass or shape of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original architectural style. The size, mass, or shape of the proposed structure or new construction should reflect the character of contributing buildings within the district. Staff's findings are that the 2/2 style proposed for use by the applicant would not be consistent with the existing style of the multi-pane windows on the 1st floor. Number 6, we do not find applicable. Number 7, distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible. Architectural details, including color, materials, texture, and site lighting, shall be treated so as to make the building, structure, or traditional property consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should replicate the material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Staff's findings are that the new windows are constructed of pine wood, matching the existing wood windows and construction material. Under number 8, all buildings and structures, sites, and traditional cultural properties shall be recognized as products of their own time, and any alterations, modifications, or other changes to the structure or the property should not attempt to create an earlier appearance than the original date of construction. Staff's findings are that the 2/2 double-hung windows proposed would be compatible with the existing second-floor windows, but staff is concerned that the use of multiple window styles and configurations, considering the different window style already installed in the more recent addition to the home, could have a more negative impact on the historical context of the structure. Number 9, the renovation of contributing structures in a historic or cultural district or designated sites shall meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. Staff's findings are that the guidelines emphasize restoration before replacement. The applicant has not indicated whether there is an intent to match the existing sills of the other windows. Number 10, the proposed project shall conform to the other requirements of the code and be in compliance with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings are that all the proposed improvements would meet the requirements of the Land Development Code, the zoning district regulations, and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. And the impact upon archaeological sites shall preserve the integrity of the site. There are no archaeological sites on site that will be impacted. Any questions?
Did you state the recommendations?
I am sorry. Okay, recommendations. Staff recommends approval of option 1, along with any other recommendations made or added by the board. Our recommendation is to replace all the second-story windows with one of the following styles. And if we had a choice, we would go along with B, because it is a little closer match to the new addition, the windows in the new addition with the pattern on the window. And replace one of the first floor windows with one of the following styles, either casement or fixed. And once again, we would recommend B. The applicant's request is to replace all the remaining windows on the first and second stories with the Energy Star A-Series double-hung windows, 2/2 windows as shown, and staff does not recommend the use of this window style. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? The staff? Would the applicant like to come and present, please?
I think we're kind of reversed on what we're thinking's being proposed, I guess, is the windows that you're envisioning remaining, the Pella windows from the 1980, that's actually what we're talking about replacing. We're remaining, all of the existing original windows are going to remain at this time, and that's what we have is it's a little unusual because what you would consider to be Queen Anne Victorian by pretty much any architectural standards is none of those are actually found in this structure. The front porch, and I think you have a pretty good photograph in staff's report of, which is probably the Google photograph. The front porch you can see has what's really correctly termed as a 9-light prairie transom, effectively, with a 2/2 below it is what it really amounts to. That's on the porch. What we would do is we would continue that style window in the Anderson modern equivalency. It comes in that exact color pretty much. It's called canvas, and the interior would be bare pine that we would match depending upon what room it's tying into on the interior. The pine on the interior would either be painted or it would be stained and finished to match the interior. We would continue that pattern with which is the 9-light prairie style, which does kind of have a Victorian look to it. That would carry around the left side of the porch, where right now we have the Pella windows from the 1980s casements, and it would also carry around the front elevation of what I guess would be called the sunroom. That's the addition that was done. And then around that corner and heading south, I guess, would be the left side of the house. We were looking at going with a 2/2 look, simplifying it, because that really is the balance of the first floor and the entire second floor. So we'd be effectively matching the cheaper look windows in the original intent on everything but the front elevation, and we would, on the first floor, and that would be the 9 Light Prairie over, I guess it would be a 2/2 is what you would call it. That's really where we're at, and it is an impact product. I mean, ultimately, we would love for the existing wood windows that may very well be original to the structure. We'd love for them to last another 100 years. If they do not, this window that we're talking about has been approved by the board right across the bayou for the Burns residents and for the Ridinger historical renovation that we did over the last few years. And we would be trimming the windows, the new windows, we would be trimming and any repairs with the sill detail that's in the existing. That's just actually a trim detail. That should not be a problem to replicate.
The board have any questions?
Are all of the windows being replaced? I was a little unclear about that.
No, actually, we're only replacing the Pella casement windows across what was the new addition in 1980. We're keeping all, unfortunately, the owner is not interested in replacing the oddball trapezoidal windows up in the gable right now, but we'll eventually probably be coming in for some version of a change to that in the future. But right now, that's something they don't want to address because it's on the third floor, and they're really trying to recapture the vernacular style on the entire ground floor. That's really their principal purpose of completing the remodel now. In addition to the windows, we're just going to be doing repairs like for like on any of the wood wood materials on the exterior, and the repaint's going to be very similar to the existing scheme. And like I say, the windows, the Anderson windows, their canvas product is basically the color that the existing windows are now on the outside painted.
So you're just replacing the new portion.
The newer windows, yeah, if you look at that picture, exactly, yeah, it's going to be to the right of what you just circled there. It's because it's to the right of that, it's going to be on the front porch. You can see on the porch there's a set of those.
Yes.
Then there's those, and then you go around the corner, and basically the first floor of that whole side of the house has those Pella windows. They extend back to the kitchen and the dining area, basically.
And you are going to match all these 2/2.
Those are
Prairie.
staying, correct, yeah.
Those with
Now
everything
match, I mean, it's hard, but that's kind of an odd
The appearance.
design, but appearance is gonna be pretty much exactly what that looks like.
Right.
I may even have, I don't have multiple copies of it, but I do have the Anderson,
So that's sort of different than what our packets say.
Yeah.
So can we?
yeah, it's kind of the
adjust
reverse
that?
of, yeah, and I understand there could have been a little confusion just because, it was, what we're replacing is the Pella windows, and we're remaining the existing, or the original windows.
So is that something we can adjust on the fly at this meeting and
The
approve, or-
the application itself is just, I mean, you're here to decide on the application. The application itself only indicates that it's for a renovation of window replacements, and it's not specific. It says window replacement and patch repair of wood siding with like materials. So the remaining testimony of how the applicant is looking to replace those, that would be what you're going to make your decision on.
Yeah, our original application says replace modern casement windows with new Anderson windows to match the existing Victorian windows. I think, does that make sense?
I have to say something. I spoke with another agent or representative.
That was probably Daniel. Yeah, our young guy.
Mr. Brandon?
Oh, what, Dave Brandon? Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, and
David's the principal. I'm basically the estimator. I'm pinch hitting a little bit.
when I'd spoken to Brandon to let him know, to remind him of the meeting, I asked him, he said he wasn't going to be there, so I asked him if the agent who was on the application was going to be there, and he said no. Now, it was Brandon that I spoke with twice in filling out the application.
Okay.
So That's where I got my information from.
I'm sorry. All right. So,
And you call these 9 light prairie style?
that is what's existing on the front porch.
Oh, so you're gonna make it as
And
similar to
that's,
that
and
as
that's
possible?
exact, yeah, we can replicate either one. I know the staff, Queen Anne Victorian style, I mean, if you go to Anderson's website, they have a Home Styles Queen Anne page, and that's pretty much the exact window, is the one with all the little squares all the way around the perimeter of the upper light. But there's really nothing like that on the existing house. And we could go that way, but it would be out of concert with what we have, so.
This is the windows of the existing house? Okay. That's on page 7.
That is basically
Okay.
The window that he submitted was this 2/2, this one on the bottom. That's what he gave me as a representative.
Oh, that's the, I guess generically, that would be the Anderson A Series double hung.
Oh, that's what Brandon gave me
Okay,
for what was going to be the replacement windows.
I mean, I can certainly, see if I have.
Yeah, this is what he gave me.
Yeah, that's probably very similar to really what the majority of the windows will be, because you're getting into going around the corner. But the front windows will be, will have the 9 light. I don't know. Get a copy.
I'd like to see a copy, if you
Okay,
don't
yeah,
mind.
we didn't get that.
Well, yeah, this is actually from.
And do I understand there's another part of the application about replacing the wood? No?
No, that portion isn't reviewed by the board because it's just
Okay.
repair.
Repair.
That'll
Okay.
be done with wood, so it'll be like for like materials to original.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Are there any other questions of the applicant?
So around the back of the house, you're just going to go to a 2/2? Is that what?
Well, that's gonna be on the east side, which is the side street, and, really everything on the second story and everything on the remainder of the first floor was that. And I think that was probably not uncommon in the era.
But
you know,
just to
and
be totally
it
clear.
was to doll up the front entrance and,
Right.
and the balance of the house. And, I mean, and I know we're not supposed to address other properties that are in Tarpon Springs, but there are a lot of Victorian houses with original windows that are 2/2s. I mean, it was not uncommon in the South for that to be
But
part of the
presently
vernacular
we're
style.
reviewing what
Exactly.
we're now talking about is from the street view, having all.
That's correct. That'll be the front street view coming along the bayou on the first floor.
Right. Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this application?
I'm sorry, I'm Robert Carr from Brandon Construction. Does anybody need my information for the minutes?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Tarpon. I live with my husband at 22 North Spring Boulevard, about 3 houses around the bayou from this. Two houses around. The staff report was a little confusing, and the package was a little confusing to me. But what I think I've heard tonight, and I just want to confirm that we would be in favor of, what I heard tonight is that all of the historic original windows on the first floor and the second floor are to remain. The addition, which is, if you're looking at the photograph, it's the left side of the picture, which is the east side of the house, that in that addition, newer addition, they would replicate the first floor 9/4, what he called a prairie style 9/, the top third is a 9 light, then there's 4 lights. And so he's going to replicate that same thing on the part that you see from the street, and then use 2/2s on the side, like the side and the back where you don't really see that. If that's the case, we would support that application. I would also tell you that we live in a Queen Anne style house, as I said, two and a half houses around from this one, and we have a pretty fancy at the entrance, fancy windows right at the entrance, and then 2/2s in the living room and dining room, so on the street side. So like I said, if what I've just said is what they're proposing, which is different than what the application said, different than what the staff report said, then we would support that. If that's not it, then I would, and I just want to make it abundantly clear in whatever approval you do that that's what you're approving. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Okay. Any more questions from the board? Most definitely.
And I would just ask that any motion that's made by the board just be very specific as to what exactly is being approved or not.
And just to clarify, there is nothing on the second floor that's being replaced. Is that correct? That's what I'm hearing as well. Yeah. Nothing. Okay.
Okay. So can I hear a motion for this application, please?
I'll make that motion as long as the wording is exactly as we just discussed, with the 2/2 bottoms,
Okay,
everything street
so
view.
so here's what the motion would be.
I mean, it's disappointing that this packet's so different than what we're hearing, but I'm glad that that's what they're doing
Right.
and not what we're looking at here.
That's
you know.
correct. So essentially, the first portion of the motion would be replacement of the front windows along the new addition, the sunroom area, to match the existing prairie windows with the 9/4 lights. Okay, that would be motion 1. Second portion of that motion would be to allow for replacement on the side and rear. Is that what the plan is? On the side for the 2/2 style, which is the more traditional Anderson. So 2-part motion. First part to replace the front windows with this window that is consistently replicating the appearance of the existing windows on the front. No replacement of windows on the second floor, and then replacement on the side with the 2/2 that are shown in the packet.
And is that side east and west, or is that just the side? Okay.
So on the east side.
Is anything being replaced on the side where the porch is?
And really, when
Okay.
you say side
Okay.
street, that's more of like a driveway that goes around the back of it, sort of. It's not even, or is it even a side? Anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
So would you like to revise your motion, or?
Can I just say, can we revise the motion and
Yes,
make a
to-
motion exactly how it was just stated by Heather?
Do we need to repeat that?
I can repeat it if you'd like.
Thank you, Heather.
2-part motion. Actually, I'm going to make it a 3-part motion so that we have a definite, that we're clear. First part is that the windows that are to be replaced on the first floor in the front of the structure are to match the 9/9 existing style and replicate the appearance of the existing windows on the front of the structure. Second part of that is no windows are to be replaced on the second floor at this time on the front of the building. Third part is that the windows on the east side, since we're clear on that, along the drive aisle, will be replaced with the 2/2 style that is shown in the packet with 4 lights, essentially.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Well, one clarification, Heather, sorry. You said 9/9, it's 9/4.
Sorry, 9/4, I apologize.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis?
Yes.
Mr. Tunstall?
Yes.
Ms. Kolianis?
Yes. Thank you. Do we have staff comments?
Yeah, unfortunately, Lisa did not pass these out to you, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. The one comment that we actually have was really just in regards to show you what the city is preliminarily proposing for Court Street, so that you could kind of take a look at it. Normally, you would necessarily see streetscapes and that type of thing, but I think it's one of those things that should at least come to you for an opinion, that type of thing, being that this is in the historic district. This is along Court Street between Banana and Pinellas Avenue, and so they're proposing to essentially change recently we've had a couple of people pick up parking areas that had traditionally been used for event parking here at the city, and because they're under new ownership, the city doesn't necessarily have the ability to use those parking lots like we had in the past. So as a result, the city manager and the engineering section kind of came up with this preliminary design to amend and put on-street parking on Court Street. And so essentially what you have before you is what their working drawing for that proposal. All of the lighting would be the same as you see all through downtown, all the benches, any trash receptacles, any of that street furniture that would be implemented here would match the street furniture that we have in the historic downtown. You guys have already looked at all that stuff. It's easier for us to keep one style, so when we have to replace something or that type of thing, we can match it. So that's the intention for that. There will be some landscaping. There'll be a few trees added. There will be some shrubberies added. Again, those will be consistent with what we already have in the downtown area. But this is really just us soliciting any comments that you might have that I can take back to the city manager and to the engineering folks as they prepare to get this project underway. This is something that we're trying to do to try to alleviate a parking concern that's probably going to come as a result of that bank parking that we can't pick up anymore. The bank itself is keeping the park, but there's another additional lot that we picked up. I think it was like 40 spaces were in all the lots. As a result, it was great for events when we had anything down at the bayou, that area. There was additional parking that people could utilize. It's not the case anymore. Great example of this would have been Friday night when we had snow place like Tarpon. You know, we run out of parking really quickly when we have those events. We basically, our events are getting bigger and bigger, especially the first Fridays have gotten really popular. So as a result, parking is going to become a premium, and we're trying to do whatever we can to make on-street parking and the parking lots that we have a little bit more functional for folks. Being that especially when we close streets, it becomes very difficult to get access to some of these roadways. So that's what this is. Staff's just bring it to you for comments. So if you have any comments, you can either provide them tonight, or if you want to kind of look at this since you didn't get in the packet and send them back to me, just let me know. I can provide those comments up onto the board and to the city manager, so he'll have them. And I can answer any questions that you have.
I was just wondering, now the bank on the bottom portion of this, where Banana Street is over to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So these driveways are the driveways that are in that paved area.
Correct. Those are all the driveway openings that we're showing you that are along both sides of the street.
Okay.
They're all existing, like all these openings. It's surprising. You don't realize it when you're out there driving that we have that many driveway openings already on Court Street. Seemed like a lot to me when he gave me this drawing and I was trying to understand. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. But there are more driveway openings that you realize. It's because a lot of the driveways are just so small and they're tucked in. You just don't realize it when you're not out there like walking it when you're driving by.
Are you guys in communication with Jefferson Bank and the people that own the parking lots to find out if they're planning on keeping those driveways accessible? Because man, if they could like turn that into parking on the court.
All the driveways right now are, their intention is to keep them. So we're working around the existing the drive plan that's there. Obviously, we don't want to take away anybody's driveways that they have, being that this is in the historic district. We don't want to eliminate driveways that somebody might need, unless it's a situation that they definitely don't need them. If that bank parking was to be reconfigured, it could be reconfigured in the future, depending upon what goes in there down the road. If that happens at that time, that would make more sense for us to address the parking. But yeah, if we could get rid of some of these driveway openings, it'd be awesome because we get more spaces.
Oh, so all these driveways are residents.
Correct.
Residences. The two. Okay, I got you.
Correct.
Now, does this increase the number of parking places the way the parallel parking is?
It will increase the number that are currently there on the street. It doesn't get us to the parking that we're basically kind of losing with that parking area. It gets us close, but it doesn't get us, it's not a one-for-one comparison. But yes, it will increase the number of spaces that are currently on Court Street at this time.
Are the lights going on the sidewalk?
They're going to have to get creative with how they do the lighting down here. Right now, they'll leave the existing lighting that's there and see how that operates. If it's operational, then they might not change lighting. But I just want to let you guys know, in case you had questions about the street furniture, that stuff, that's all uniform across downtown. So anything in your historic district that's already been approved, that's the kind of furniture that we want to use, because we want to have one style of things. It's more uniform, but more it's from a cost savings perspective. Every time we have to change a light, if we had different lights, we'd be carrying all kinds of light fixtures, and it's just not worth it to us. If we're going to change things, we holistically change it, or we stay the same and we make it consistent. You'll have the same thing in that ring parking lot that we talked about a few weeks ago. That'll have lighting, the historic downtown lighting in it.
Why didn't we get to have input on the crosswalk signs that went up on Tarpon Avenue?
I did not know about the crosswalk signs that went up on Tarpon Avenue.
This
That's
is their
something.
distraction.
That's something that the city manager and or the public works department felt were necessary. That's not something that we knew anything. I got just as surprised as you guys when I drove downtown, because I didn't happen to come uptown that week. I came to work on Monday and I'm like, whoa, where is this? So.
Well, I have one comment. I'm counting 12 bump outs with plants and flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it might be better to have less of those and more parking areas than, I mean, we all like flowers. I used to be a florist for 30 years, that's not a problem. But the thing is, parking is what we ultimately really need. I mean, a few of these, but
Well, the bump outs, a lot of the reason why the bump outs are the way they are is because it's for safety, for actual turning radius to come out of those driveways to protect people from coming in and out, so people don't overflow, park right on top of somebody's driveway. That's the intention of that. But also, we do not allow in the land development code, like this one area down on Banana Street where we have a section of parking, you only can have 10 spaces without some kind of break. That's the land development code requirement, not so much a historic preservation requirement. But because of that, they're trying to be sensitive to all of our regulations, so we follow our own rules.
okay. Any other comments?
So I'm just assuming this is going to narrow the street quite a bit, right? Kind of like what happened on, is it Lemon Street?
It will narrow the street there. This is a very wide street, really surprisingly as wide as it is, and not have already been converted or converted from a boulevard. It will narrow that street down, which hopefully will also reduce the flow of traffic here, because there tends to be a little bit faster speeds that are reached on this section of of roadway, which is surprising considering you're coming up to downtown. It's not somewhere thing, but because of the fact that there's no type of calming, this is a way of calming that traffic without having speed bumps and round tables and those type of things. When you start adding on-street parking, people are clued into the fact that this is a slower area. So it's an attempt to do what in layman's terms is adding speed bumps without adding speed bumps. It's what we call traffic calming in, transportation design. That's what they're trying to attempt to do.
It encourages caution.
Correct.
You're not wanting to you're wanting to look to see if anybody's backing out or.
But you
pulling
also
in.
want to make it safe, which is why you're seeing a lot of those bump outs. And I mean, really, they could take some of the plantings out of these and then just leave them, open areas where they're kind of striped. But the intention was to provide them, an attractive environment, because now with this parking, you're not going to get islands and things in the center of the roadway like some of our other roadways have been beautified with. So as a result, it's trying to add that same level of landscaping and things to what we can, realizing that the sidewalks are what they are, the existing driveway openings are what they are. It's making it better than what we have now, or at least attempting to.
And you mentioned something about the parking at the bank. Is that something that the city does have access to, or we really?
No, essentially what happens is a lot of times the city has agreements with different owners and that type of thing. So when properties change hands, we sometimes lose out on those, because they're really just for those times when we need it. It's not really one of those type of things. And because of where this is located, there's something that they want to do with that area. So as a result, we kind of lost out on that. The city wasn't able to snatch it up as fast as it changed hands. So as a result, this is that attempt to kind of get back that area that we have lost.
We have all these bump outs with plantings on the one side of the street because of the type of parking, but yet none on the other because it's parallel. Is that right?
That's correct, because of the width of the street, you can't do it on both sides, or then you wouldn't have enough drive aisle for the fire engine.
Right.
And also the other side of the street, there's an issue with the sidewalk. We only own so much sidewalk on some of these older historic areas. We only own so much sidewalk. We don't have the extra width on that side to kind of really address it without completely taking this out and starting again, which is the attempt. We're trying to work with what we've got without going on there and just holistically knocking everything down.
And how do they decide where the handicap spaces go? Is there one on each
There's
side?
the handicap spaces are actually down at the end. They didn't reduce very well. They're down at the end on the banana side. There's 2 handicap spaces that are put there. Really, on street parking, the requirement for handicap accessibility for on street parking, we're not quite there yet as far as ADA. You want to provide as much as you can, but generally when you're in a parking lot, then you're dealing more with handicap parking. The fact that we have 2 spaces here is excellent, especially with where this is located.
Right.
Could they not be closer to alternate 19 because of the slope? Is that
That's correct.
The slope of the sidewalk?
Exactly, yeah. That it's not going to work on that side.
Right.
Any other discussion? Board, anyone?
If you guys take a look and you have any other comments, you're welcome to email them to me or give me a call if you have additional stuff. I just wanted you to get a chance to see this, because we don't always get you information, and then after the fact, guys are asking me about it. So this one, since I knew it was coming up, I wanted you to get a chance to see it.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. As somebody who uses handicap spaces and has difficulty walking, it would be much more sensible to have the handicap spaces closer to Pinellas Avenue, which is where people are going to be going, rather than, and maybe they could be put as the parallel spots on the other side.
Well, that's something that I can pass along, but I know there is a grade change there, so that may or may not be something that's feasible because of the grade change.
Well, if that's all, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. And I'll sign these quickly.
And you are now officially caught up on your minutes.
Pardon me? Yes, we are.
Caught up on
Yes.
all your minutes at this point, up to this meeting.
I was gonna say, that's pretty impressive if you've already got the minutes from this meeting.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. I said it's impressive if you already have the minutes from this meeting.
See you next time.
Wow.
Hey, do you want this? Because I don't need it.
Want to take it home and paper your office with it?
Oh, there's so many other papers.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my last board meeting. No,
or we're just the
no,
end
we
of
have
our-
to
just
hire a new chairman. Hire.
End of an era.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Hey, there you go, lady. Thank you.
Option 8.
Yes. I will. Clean up my mess here.
You gotta give. That's what I explained.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Bye-bye. a good night, Mark.